Hello all, welcome to the session. As part of our lecture series related to the nanotechnology or nanoscience, in this video, I am going to discuss about the importance of nanotechnology. As we know that in syllabus, the separate unit he mentioned like nanotechnology or the nanomaterials, that it means that it has some importance because of different nature compared to the bulk materials. Otherwise, he won't give the separate unit, right? On exam days, generally I used to receive the several questions from the students. Please share the notes. I'll prepare the notes and I will write. But it's not so easy for the preparation of like a half a day or one day. So here I want to give you tips how we can attempt the questions without much focus on that or without much preparation related to that particular answer. Just try to understand the topic and lesson topics. First thing, here for example, here we are giving the introduction to the nanotechnology. For example, he is asking, like in exam, he is asking about the explain the significance of nanotechnology, explain the importance of nanotechnology. Then obviously just try to think and write the keywords related to that particular topic. First thing and most important one is word like a nano. You know, the like deci, centi, milli, micro, nano, pico, femto, atto. Obviously, this is a word related to the size like 10 power minus 9. That's all. And then, once the size of the particles are reduced to the nanoscale, what are the properties are changing when we compare with the bulk materials, and why that kind of properties change is occur in particular material, we should think. For example, when we are talking about the properties point of view, we should discuss about the surface related properties or the chemical active properties, mechanical properties, thermal properties, electrical properties, optical properties and mechanical properties. All these aspects we should think. For each and every property, there is one parameter is changes. Because of that, the properties are completely different compared to the bulk materials. So in this way, you should think. Once the size of the materials are reduced to the nanoscale, the material properties are completely different. Then obviously we should think why these materials are showing different nature. What are the changes we are observing in the particular material? Then obviously when you are thinking in that particular direction, so you just note down these points. One, the surface area relate to the particular volume is changing. The surface area to volume, surface to volume ratio is enhanced. In case of nanomaterial, whether whatever the shape it is, if you cut down into the spherical shape, that is a different story. If you cut down into the cubes or if you cut down into the rectangle, in whatever the shape you cut down, the bigger material into the smaller, the surface to volume ratio is completely changes or increases. Once the surface area is more compared to the volume, then obviously it can act like a chemical active thing, catalysis. Surface related chemical bonding properties are completely changes. This one way we can explain. The surface to volume ratio is increases. Because of that, the chemical related properties of all nanomaterials are changed with respect to the bulk materials. And coming to the Electrical and optical properties. Optical is related to the absorption and emission nature. With respect light point of view, its absorption or the emission is related to the optical. Electrical is related to the transition of the electrons or movement of the electrons. So the quantum confinement effect, according to the quantum confinement phenomena point of view, when the size of the particle is reduced to the de Broglie wavelength of the charge carriers, then these particles are distributed in different energy levels, and similar to the quantum mechanics particle in one dimension, E equivalents to n square phi square h cut square by 2ml square. Here L is nothing but length of the box. Once the length is completely reducing, that is, the particle size is reducing, then the energy gap value is enhanced. Once the energy gap is enhanced, the optical property E equivalents to h nu, hc by lambda. Lambda is decreases, blue shift takes place. So because of the quantum confinement, the electrical and optical properties are changes. And compared to these two, forces between the particle is also changes. Generally in nature we have different kinds of forces. Gravitational forces, electrical or magnetic, electromagnetic forces, and the nuclear forces like the strong and weak. When we are taking the gravitational force, it depends on the mass of the object. Once you reduce the size of the particle to the nanoscale, then obviously we are cut down the particles into the smaller parts. Then the mass is decreases, then obviously it impacts the gravitational forces. While electromagnetic forces depends on the charge of the particles, it doesn't depend on the mass, then obviously it won't change. And other two forces like a strong nuclear and weak nuclear forces are only acting in the charge carriers, in the nucleons, in between the constituent nucleons, either neutron to proton or the proton to proton or neutron to neutron. And it is range is like a Fermi range, but we are talking about the nano, 10 power minus 9. So then obviously nuclear forces doesn't occur for nanoparticle range because it requires very low space like a Fermi, 10 power minus 15 order. So then obviously out of all the forces, gravitational forces are weakened and nuclear forces are seized out. Then obviously this property is changes the mechanical properties. Not only mechanical, so obviously there is a gravitational forces are weakened down, attractive forces are weakened down, then obviously other electromagnetic forces are dominant in nature in case of nanomaterials. In addition to this, Brownian motion or the random molecular motion is also exist. So because of all these aspects, definitely nanomaterials are so special compared to the bulk materials. So because of these changes occur in the material, optical, electrical, magnetic, mechanical, thermal conducting, electrical conducting properties are always changes with respect to the bulk materials. So you just write in your own way, in so simple way. So according to the like a small recap, if he exam point of view, if he is asking about the explain the significance of nanomaterials or explain the importance of nanotechnology, you just write here. Once the size of the particles are reduced to the 10 power minus 9 in any one direction, that can be taken as nanomaterials. So once the size of the particles are reduced to the nanoscale, it behave differently compared to the bulk materials. So in terms of different parameters, not only a single, we can't say like a single way, the properties, all properties are completely changes. And these properties are changed because of these following factors: surface to volume ratio, the quantum confinement effect, weak gravitational force, and Brownian motion or random molecular motion. The individual theory related to the surface to volume ratio, quantum confinement effect, Random molecular motion, weak gravitational forces are discussed in the separate videos. Thank you.